Welcome to this introduction tutorial for Turning Point. Hopefully you've seen the talking head introduction from Andrew, and that will have covered how you connect everything up, where you get everything, and how you get your software installed. What I'd like to do now is to reiterate one point that will have been made on that video, and that is if you're working in Turning Point, creating a Turning Point slide or presentation, then you must actually open the Turning Point program first. That will open PowerPoint. If you do it the other way round and open a PowerPoint file, then it won't recognise the things that you've done, and it will lead to problems later on down the line. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open the Turning Point program by going to the icon, the Turning Point icon, and as you can see here, I'm going to select a new, create a new presentation, and what you can see here on the left hand side is we have the Turning Point tab. If you don't have that, then you haven't opened it in Turning Point. If you start off on the Home tab, you've opened it in PowerPoint, and you need to close it down and open it from Turning Point. What we do need to do first of all, obviously, if we're creating some kind of presentation slide, is to create your design, and this is covered in the previous demonstrations and tutorials that we have for PowerPoint. So I'm quickly going to set up here a slide, and I'm just going to quickly put in here a title. So we've got our template, and we have now got ourselves in a state where we're ready to start to make a PowerPoint Turning Point slide, and that will be in the next chapter. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the tutorial for Turning Point, and we're going to move on to actually putting some content into the presentation itself. So if I come off it, if we go to the Turning Point tab, what we now have to do is to insert a Turning Point slide, and we do that using the Insert Slide button on the Turning Point tab. Do not use New Slide on the Home tab. From Turning Point 2008 tab, use the Insert a Slide tab. That has all the functionality built into it to enable you to use the pads. The other one doesn't, so please only use this one. We have a number of slides that we could use. Some are generic to specific things, such as the generic slides here. It comes out 2, 3, 4, 5 answers. Some are true, yes, no, false, whatever it is that you want to use. We're going to deal with just creating a vertical slide and adding in the number of questions that we want. In the future, we will cover these slides in detail on tutorials like this for specific activity. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a slide. As you can see, we have a question section and an answer section. There's the question section, there's the answer section, and here is the graphic section that represents the answers that when you've pressed the buttons, the Turning Point has shown you what the results will be. So we're going to add a question first of all. It's going to be a simple question. What time is it? Obviously the question could be anything that you want. This gives us the opportunity now to put in some answers. So I'm going to put a selection of answers in. 9 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, and 9 o'clock at night. Not that we would want to be here at 9 o'clock at night, but so now we have gone from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. The answers are there, and if we click off the actual box, you can see that the answers have now been set at one side. Images represent all of the options, and the title of those options is on the bottom of the slide. What we now have is on the right hand side of our screen, just here, we are able to look at and choose which one of those is the correct answer. Now I'm just looking at my clock at this moment in time, and it's actually 11:15. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change this now to 11:15, so you can see that it is adaptable, and you can see that the 11 o'clock one has actually changed to 11:15 down here, so it's now up to date. So the right answer for me is number 2. Now when I choose correct, you can see that the other answers have automatically gone to incorrect. It's sorted all of that out for me. But if there was an occasion where 2 answers could be right, you do have the option of changing that to correct, and it will do so. At the moment it is fine because we have 3 incorrect answers and 1 correct answer. We have now created a PowerPoint turning point slide with interaction, and we're now able to test it, and that will be the topic of the next session. Thank you very much. Hi, welcome back to the final part of this tutorial, and what we want to do now is obviously test our slide and make sure that everything is working. We are doing this at this moment in time just like you would in your staff room. You won't have the voting pads in front of you. You won't have booked them out to try them. So we're making this in an office with no dongle, with no pads, and we want to make sure that it works. We will deal first with what we would do, and then we'll insert some of the other things that you can use with Turning Point, and then we'll come back to test it at the end. As you can see in the center, it says there response devices. So if, for instance, we were using keypads, that would come up because it would know that we've got keypads attached. What we're going to use later on is simulated data to test it, and that is the selection that we would choose. So in a short while we will go into response devices, choosing the simulated data. If we had voting pads connected to it and we're using it in the classroom, we would select that, and we would select the voting pads themselves. That's the only difference. But first, what might be handy is for us to actually put in an indicator on this, which one is the correct answer. So what we want to do now is we want to insert an object. Yep, and we're going to come down to correct answer indicator. There are a number of things that you can choose. You can choose a countdown, a grid, answer now. It will look at all sorts of things. We can change the charts from 3D to 2D. You can choose any of those that you want to make it look as nice and as touchy-feely as you want to. We're only going to deal with, at this moment in time, putting in a correct answer. And you can choose from this number of standard icons that it will use, or a custom indicator if you wanted to. So I think we'll just use a check mark, and that's indicated there. Look, you can see that the correct answer is 2, so that when that actually runs, you will see it. What we'll also need to do, now we've got all of this element built in, is save the presentation. So don't forget to save it on regular intervals. I've now saved it. It's gone to the place where I've told it to save when I initially started my PowerPoint presentation. I know that it saved it and everything's okay. So now what we want to do is we want to come down, simulated data, which is what we've now got identified there. It's still not doing anything because we haven't run the slideshow. So all we need to do now is what we would normally do, and that is go to slideshow. I'm going to view it from this current slide, and what you can see now is that we've got polling open. It's chosen 30 responses for us, so 30 people are actually doing what they need to do. And when polling is open, when polling closes, we would press either the enter button or a mouse click, and you can see that it's simulated the data, the polling has closed, and these are the results that the computer has decided has happened. So we've checked the data, we've checked that it works, and that's fine. So if we end the show, we can see that that has been recorded, and all we need to do now is go back to Turning Point, and we need to reset this for the next time that we use it. So you would do it at the end of whenever you finished your presentation, or you can save this presentation as it is and call it something else, and you can keep a record of what you've done. So ideally, what I would do now, if this was a full presentation, I would come down to Save As, I would say it's down as test presentation. I will put in here with results, and I could obviously say when that was and at what date and at what time and at what place, and I would save it. So I now have a copy of this, and what I would now have is the ability now to reset. And if I've got multiple slides where we've gone through the exercise, I would reset all slides. So I'm going to do that and pretend that I've got a number of slides. It's now reset everything back to what we was going to do, and so I'm going to now run the slideshow again, and we'll go through the exercise again. So polling is open, 30 responses are being tested. I'm going to this time press the enter button on my keyboard, and you can see it's a completely different set of results this time. So I'm going to end the show. If I wanted to save it as, because I wanted to keep that set of results so that I've got evidence of the teaching practice that's taking place, I would do, but at this point in time I'm just going to reset all the slides. The second half of the presentation that we're going to do today, the tutorial, is going to be how to implement this within a PowerPoint that you've already got. So we'll go through the whole system, how to load up your presentation and then install something like this to make it work. This concludes how to start using Turning Point from scratch, and hopefully you'll use it, enjoy it, reflect upon it, and use it in your teaching and learning. Thank you very much.